Hello, everyone, and welcome to sorry.
These are hard words. Whoever came up with this,
I was the one who came up with this, but okay.
Space Smurfs,
Space Smurfs,
Smurf.
Space Smurfs.
Space Smurf.
Space Smurfs,
Space Smurf.
Space Smurfs.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you.
Everyone, and welcome back to the third episode of Space Smurfs Season 3, where we will be discussing a lot of amazing and awesome space stuff. And this is your favorite host, Aleena, who is a wannabe space talk show host, and you're watching Space Smurfs Season 3, Episode 3. So, we have been learning a lot about Earth since school, right? Like, we know about its characteristics, the geography, the weather, how life was formed, and so on from our school textbooks. And with all these years living on Earth, we now know our planet like, anyone else, like there is at our home, like our mom and dad and our siblings, right? And we know how, Earth does things, how Earth reacts sometimes, and where to get what, how to live. But even with the climate change happening, sometimes we are also clueless, like how the Earth is going to react and, what are the new mysteries that the Earth is going to show. So, in the last episode, we talked about space nutrition, where the astronauts or astronauts that are going out to the space will be, requiring the nutrition, the food, and everything. And we also, like, for a little extent, we talked about how space nutrition will be involved in space exploration. So, does this, knowing about planets also become an important part when it comes to space exploration? So, I feel in this era of space exploration where people are trying to go to other planets, it is necessary to learn a little bit about the other planets as well. And of course, it is impossible to go out there to other planets physically and learn about them. Interestingly, on Earth, from Earth itself, there are a lot of scientists who does a lot of studies about other planets. And I don't know what are the different things that they look into, definitely. And in today's episode of Space Moves, we have an expert, the amazing Mr. Bram de Winter from the Netherlands, who will be talking to us about planetary sciences. And I invite Bram to this podcast. Hello, Bram. How are you doing?
Hello, how are you doing? How are you all? Yeah, hope you're all doing well.
Yes, exactly. And we are so excited to actually have you on this show today. And we have a lot of questions for you. But before we move into the details about like planetary sciences and the things, our audience will be a little bit curious to know a bit about yourself, what you're doing, and how did you end up in this planetary sciences domain? Yeah, over to you.
Thank you so much for the invite. So my name is Bram de Winter. I'm at this moment a PhD student in originally Department of Earth Sciences, but I study Planetary Sciences at the University of Oxford in the UK. I'm originally from the Netherlands, close to Amsterdam, the big capital of the Netherlands, and I study how other planets form, how we can tell more about when planets have formed in the past and then towards present day and see what happened there and see how we can link those. I'm also really involved in SGAC, Space Generation Advisory Council, which you might have heard in previous episodes. And since 2 years, I've became a really active member, working in the Space Exploration Project Group, now currently as coordinator of the project group, as well as I've been a former national point of contact for my native country of the Netherlands. Been to many events and many other things, cool things related to space exploration.
Wow, that's really interesting. And like as someone coming from the field of planetary science, which to be honest, even I don't know much about what is it about, and what are the different aspects looking into. What inspired you to take it up? Like, is there any inspirational story behind taking it up, or like how did you get into this field and how does it fascinate you? Yeah.
So actually my story towards like planetary science and space started actually quite late. Often what you see in the space sector is that people from like already when they were 5 or 6 wanted to become astronauts or work into the space sector. for me, it started to grow actually when I started doing my bachelor's degree in earth sciences.
Mhm.
I always have been a person who was interested by many things. And also the courses that I took, I always was really, I was good in most
Okay. Mhm.
kind of courses. And what I really loved was just doing combining them all and started thinking about bigger questions that you
Yeah.
might not answer in an hour time on Google.
Yeah.
And so then I had a course on planetary geology by my former professor, Wim van Westrijnen. And I kind of discovered how cool planetary science was. And from there, I started looking at ways how I can, because planetary science is just a very niche topic. It's not taught in every course or any university. So I started looking outside my university to see what can I do to build myself more experience in planetary geology, space exploration, or just in general the space sector. So I became involved after that course I contacted my professors, and through that I basically rolled into I worked my way into what I'm doing now, which is the PhD and also my voluntary work, of course, for SGAC.
Wow, that's super cool. And I mean, I feel like, one thing that I have understood so far by talking with different people who are working in the space sector is that you don't have to have big dreams like from when you were like 5 or 6 in the childhood to be in the space sector. For me, the aspiration or that passion that I've developed to come into the space sector happened again during my master's. Not at all during my bachelor's also. Like I took a year gap, then I went for IR, and then I developed this passion for space sector. And it was like, okay, this is something that I would like to explore. So even if you're someone, who just completed your studies, or, you are, I don't know, like in your mid-30s trying to explore, like, what you can do again in your life, go for it. I mean, there is never a particular time to be in the space sector. So yeah, that
Yeah,
is really inspiring.
it's definitely you should just find your way in what fits you the most.
Yeah.
You can also try different things. You can try to see, is the space sector something for me? That question is perfect if that's a no or a yes.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes us a couple of tries to find out what your true your true inspiration motivation is.
Exactly. True. Absolutely. And also, I do have huge respect for you now because you're doing a PhD program, and that too with the Oxford University. That's amazing. That's pretty cool, actually. And so, how does we will go into that and all, but before that, how does studying about other planets help us? Like, does this kind of study play a major role with the space exploration, or is it a little bit more, I don't know, like theoretical, just to be aware about what is happening in the universe? Yeah.
Well, I think you can definitely separate it in a couple of different ways of how this can help us here on Earth. First of all, it's definitely indeed what you already mentioned before. It's a couple of majority of the studies is helping the space exploration program.
Okay.
It's already trying to make sure that we know as much as we want from certain planetary surfaces, such as Mars and Moon, and in order to use our time efficiently, but also decrease the risks when being there, better understand how the two environments are working. Then secondly, it's also hoping to better understand our own planet. There's, for instance, a certain case about the moon. So if you want to look back and in the history of Earth, it's very difficult because the Earth has a particular system called plate tectonics. And plate tectonics, so the movement of plates, the subducting of plates, and the recycling of plates, makes it really hard to study back really early times of evolution of Earth, because we keep recycling our rocks, which are our data samples. So the wise saying, I don't know who I'm going to quote here, but I heard this really nice sentence that somebody said, which is the oldest rock from the Earth is on the moon. As we currently, as scientists think from the giant impact, or other theories, but probably the giant impact, that the Earth of the moon was a part of the Earth. And so we have a shared history. The only thing is that the moon doesn't have any plate tectonics because it's just too small, doesn't have the conditions to do plate tectonics, which means that the rocks that we found at the surface are like super old, older than we can find on Earth. And then the third thing, which I'm always really fascinated about, is just science is also just about curiosity of mankind. Of humankind.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just, pushing those boundaries of things that we don't know, discovering things that we don't know. And also that has just a huge benefit by inspiring next generation, working towards trying to figure out these details and then finding different technologies, different solutions, methods along the way, which I think is just very important. So I think in the space sector in general, science is just really important. And I actually last 2 weeks ago, I was at a webinar from the former Director Associate of NASA, Thomas Scherbuchen. And he basically said, science drives space exploration. And that's a bold claim to make. But it's sometimes a bit underappreciated, especially in organizations like SGAC or other that science can be so important for the space exploration.
Interesting. And now that I'm curious, you mentioned about learning about other planets also help us to understand a bit more about our planet, like Earth, right? So can you give me an example of how that correlation comes in? Like, is it with the weather or, how does it work?
It really depends on what you want to study about Earth. So if you want to study early about, the evolution of early Earth, then definitely lunar exploration is the way to go. But I think also a really important thing, which now I think slowly we're going to have a look at, but is one of our neighboring planets, Venus. I do think that we should study Venus and Mars better. Why? Because there are two neighboring planets. If you look at their climate, they're basically the two extreme ends of Earth, which means they're both, I would say, dead planets. It's maybe weird to say, and one say that the one has an atmosphere and a climate that's just not existing anymore. Which in the case Mars, and there's one planet who has a climate that's just went ballistics, that went extremely into chaotics is just very thick, very warm. It's just like a big ring around the planet that protects it. So studying these two is just hopefully we can also better understand how our planet's atmosphere works better, and also perhaps, and now I'm suggesting thinking a bit bigger, is what if we, with our climate change on humans, what if we push it to the extreme? We keep on polluting, do we end up like Venus? And that's an extreme case, but I hope we can learn more about it by just studying it.
Wow. That's really fascinating to know about. While I do have a lot of other questions to ask you about planetary sciences and other things as well. So on Space Smurfs, we have this very interesting session where we bring in a series of questions of would you rather to our expert as a fun session, and you have to choose one from the two options that we provide, and that too quickly. And you can also maybe provide your reasoning behind why you choose that also. So this is going to be the Would You Rather of Season 3, Episode 3 with Bram from Netherlands. And Bram, whenever you're ready, we can start.
I'm ready.
Okay. The first question. Would you rather visit a planet inside our solar system or outside the solar system?
At this moment, inside, because I don't need to travel that much. A long time.
Okay.
I don't want to be stuck in a capsule for
A
thousands
long
of
time.
years.
Yeah. I understand. Okay. Would you rather witness a volcanic eruption or witness an impact by a meteor?
Volcanic eruption.
Okay.
Its impact of a meteor is probably very harmful for for me. So I rather
Okay.
not do it. And the volcanic eruption, as a geologist, would be. I have not seen one, and I really want to see one.
Oh. Yeah, we do have active volcanoes right now, right? I think so. There will be.
Oh, there's always active
Yeah.
volcanoes.
Yeah. So
Multiple
you can
ones.
definitely book your next tickets for that. Would you rather watch the sunset on Mars or Mercury?
Sun, Mars. Yeah.
Okay. Does
Um,
Mercury have a sunset? I'm not sure.
it
Does
should
it?
have. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Interesting. Have you is there any I don't know, like thoughts about like how the sunset on Mars would be like actually? Like, do you have any ideas about it? Like, will it be as similar to how we will be seeing from Earth, or will it be different?
No, it will be different because there's less atmosphere. So in Earth we have this whole glowing thing. That's
Mhm.
because of like the sun coming in with the atmosphere. We probably
Yeah.
don't have that much on Mars.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think still
Interesting.
the Earth one is the most pretty one.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Because I haven't seen any other. So yeah.
It's still sunset
Uh,
is so early.
uh okay. Yeah. Would you rather survive on the surface of Venus or on the surface of Pluto?
I think Venus could be really interesting. As I said before, like I would love to study Venus, but at this moment, like the environment is so not good for humans to survive there.
Yeah.
So unless we come up with incredible technology, we
Yeah.
can
I mean,
perhaps do it
let's
somewhere.
let's assume that you have a superpower to survive
Okay,
there.
yeah, Venus,
Yeah.
Venus. I will study Venus.
Yep. And would you rather stand on the rings of Saturn or stand on the surface of Sun?
I think the rings of Saturn will be really cool.
You're choosing the safe zones.
Yeah, no, the sun. Yeah, no, yeah, Saturn.
Yeah, I mean, going there to Sun would be nice. I don't know, like, sometimes I get too occupied with, knowing more about, like, all these solar flares and sunspots and other things. So, yeah, I feel like standing on the surface of Sun, if I have that superpower, will be nice. But
Yeah,
anyway,
so I think the rings of Saturn are probably one of the most beautiful
yeah.
things
So
in the
true.
solar plan. Have you seen the new pictures from the Uranus
Maybe
planet?
I have missed it. I missed it. Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay,
It's
I'll
so
check it
beautiful.
out.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't forget to check out the new picture of Saturn. Yep. And then, like, would you rather, if you had a chance to travel back in time, would you rather witness the birth of the solar system or witness the birth of Moon and Earth?
I think Moon and Earth would be really cool.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I think
After
it
you,
would see. Yeah,
Yeah.
after like studying it for a while, just seeing it
exactly. Yeah.
would be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it will bring in more ideas like about, what exactly happened during that formation will be an asset to your studies as well. Yep, definitely. And would you rather travel to the center of the universe or travel to the center of the Earth?
Center of the universe. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you could see all this cool stuff around you. Seeing what's out there, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, center of the earth would be cool as well, but
Yeah.
a lot of pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And the final question for this session, would you rather have a holiday to an unknown planet or take a scenic tour to the moon and back?
Oh, I would love to be an Artemis astronaut, so I would say the second one. I think everyone wants to be, right?
Yeah, everyone wants to be in it. So yeah, I understand. And during the podcast, I also have like so many space dad jokes being introduced throughout the episode. So my question this time is, why did Pluto look up to all the major planets in the solar system?
Tell me.
Because it's a dwarf planet. Because it's a dwarf planet, it literally have to look up anyway. Yeah. I'm sorry.
All right, we continue.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Anyway, so moving on. So you mentioned that you are doing PhD at the Oxford University, which is really cool. So could you tell us a little bit more about your work, both in the university and also what you're doing with SGAC, like in the space sector? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I will first tell a bit about like PhD. So I joined the University of Oxford in October of 2020, 2022 actually. And so I'm recent, like 6 months in now.
Okay.
And I joined the Department of Earth Sciences. As well as there's a really weird system here, but the university college. So we have all different colleges. And I'm just combining both computer modeling as well as some experiments with high pressure, high temperature to better understand how evolution of especially the Earth-Moon system works. So better understanding how planets form, how planets crystallize as well. So that means that you start off with a big planet, which is in essential kind of like liquid magma, so molten. And then when it starts cooling down, you will form the first minerals. And those ones are really interesting to study. And of course, we don't have any natural samples of them because recycling and it's a big hide and seek to find them, which we haven't won. And so, we're studying them basically quite theoretical. And that's what I'm working on now. But so far, the university has been an incredible motivation source to work here, and I'm really grateful that I'm got the opportunity to work here as a PhD student for the next years. In SGSC, 2 years ago I started getting involved. First started as a member of what we call then the member relationships team in the space exploration project group. So helping out members getting better involved into the project group. I did that for 6 months, and then I became the co-lead, following up after some great other people that did the coordination role. And from there, I started looking at like how can we expand our projects so we give more people opportunities to learn about space exploration, to gain experience, to eventually also help their space careers, as well as just putting the voice of the next generation out there. Space exploration is a field where compared to the other space fields, the other space sector fields, is something that is really long-term planning. So if you're designing now something in the space sector, it will be launched maybe in like 20 years or so.
Yeah, definitely.
And already before design and funding stuff, we may be thinking about 30 years or 35 years, which means that it's a very unique opportunity to get the young generation involved, because in 25 years, the little kids that are now 10, they will be 35 and they will be working in the space sector. Me personally, if I'm now starting designing a mission, I will be 50 around that time. So I think it's very important to keep getting the young generation involved. So that's what our biggest mission is. And during my time in space exploration, I founded multiple bigger projects. So one of them is called Achieved, which is a mission design team. We're now working with around 25 members that work on mission designs. So we previously have designed a Mercury sample return mission.
Oh, okay.
which is highly
Mhm.
ambitious. And this moment, we're working on deep exploration CubeSats as well
Okay.
as a crewed orbital station for Venus.
Wow. Okay. Sounds
Yeah.
very
We're
interesting.
making a little bit of a joke about NASA's policy, moon to Mars. We say Mars to Venus.
Okay.
So we're thinking a bit further ahead. And we're currently trying to design also an educational program related to it that
Mhm.
will be open accessible for 25 students,
Oh,
24 actually.
okay.
So if there's any people interested in there, have a look at our project group and keep updated about it.
Yeah.
It's, I think, an amazing opportunity to get involved in this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
As well as that we're trying to open a new team, as well, so a first research team that will be especially looking at space exploration missions and things that are related to the Asian Pacific region.
Okay.
So there will be probably a team that's full of Asian Pacific members
Wow.
from SGAC.
Okay. Yeah.
Other project that we're doing, roadmap, which is just so really one-on-one related to the things that I said about like bringing the voice of the next generation. So
Yeah.
that's something where we look at current existing roadmaps and trying to see how can we give our own little comments, recommendations based on it.
No.
And we're also working on analog missions. We always support a lot of papers that go to conferences. So we're doing many things. So yeah, we're trying to be a fun community that provides a lot of opportunities for many other people.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I totally agree with all these things. Like, and it's really fascinating to hear about all these projects, to be honest. Like, I started with SGAC in amidst the pandemic, and for me, SGAC was the gateway to the space sector to know, like, where I can put myself in. So I believe, like, there will be a lot of new young generation, like you mentioned, who need that exposure into the space sector to know like what and where they can contribute. And it's pretty cool, like all these different things that the space exploration project group is doing with SGAC. I feel like I do not have any technical background, like hardcore technical background, but still I feel like all these things that you're doing, it's really interesting. And
that's maybe one of the misconceptions that we have about space exploration in general, is that we only need engineers or diehard scientists, or we're currently in our group, we're working with different kind of people. We're working with people that study economy. We're working with people that are in the law, policy, strategy field. We're working with people that are more in the space medicine field. And also like with a couple of scientists, which are you have a bit of experience in SGAC. There's not a lot of scientists in SGAC. So I would definitely say for, if you're watching this or listening this, and SGAC for me has also been the gateway to the space sector. While it not primarily also for me was my ticket into my PhD, for instance, because PhDs are like super academic, so your academic work really matters a lot. But SGAC has given me the opportunity also to develop myself, and so through that, I probably I must thank them as well for helping me getting my PhD, because it was a place where I learned a lot about myself, a lot about the skills that I have, but also the things that I need to improve. So SGAC has been really important for me, and made me also probably have a really close group of friends in SGAC that are that sure will be listening to this podcast, but they will, I'm really thankful for that.
I will put all the links about the Space Exploration Project Group as well as SGAC down in the description box, so you can definitely look it up and see if you can find a space for yourself in the space domain. So for coming to the last question for this episode, so I know we have been talking a lot about what is planetary science and how you ended up in the space sector and everything. There might be a lot of space enthusiasts coming from different disciplines in science like chemistry, geology, and so on, who might like to know how they can put themselves in the planetary science domain, or something what they can do in the space sector. So as someone working in this field for the past 2-3 years right now, what are your pointers and or advice for them who are trying to, pursue this discipline in the space sector? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, and a question that is really relevant for planetary science students. I know myself, like a couple of years ago, I was definitely struggling with this as well.
Yeah.
The career of a space scientist, like a scientist in the planetary science field, is it's not straightforward sometimes. Not as straightforward as maybe for an engineer or other more related field.
Yeah.
So I think the first big choice that you have to make is after you finish your degree, and in my case, it was also a bachelor's and a master's degree. You have to choose between space sector and academia. Academia meaning you're going to work as a PhD or you're going to work in the space sector. If you want to work in the space sector, the chances are high enough that your science knowledge is not enough to give you a job in the space sector. Which means you have to work on your secondary level skills and experiences as well. Which links back again is something you can really learn at SGAC. But also develop yourself by there's so many cool, accessible online educational programs to work our way around. I personally, for instance, did orbital mechanics during my master's. So I started doing a couple of engineering, a couple of orbital mechanics courses, some leadership, mentorship, leadership coordination kind of style courses. So just in case I didn't want to go in academia, because then you're gonna need those. My experience, and maybe that's not for everyone, is that if you want to have a full science job in the space sector, most of them, especially in the Europe and the US, they require a PhD. They ask for PhD qualifications. So then if you want to go into the second route, so towards more academia, which means a PhD, it's all about making sure that your academic record is good and you find yourself a project that is fitting to you. The search for a PhD, you can probably write another 10 podcasts on it. It can be one of the most stressful things to do. Make sure to have like shortlist and contact people that are very relevant to what you want to do for research. If it's like there will always be a lot of people applying to especially funded PhDs, so fully funded PhDs. So make sure that when these fully funded PhDs come out, if you're just someone that thinks like, oh, this is cool, but it's a PhD place, but the topic is, I could do it, they're probably not going to pick you from this PhD list, from these people. But if it's a topic that's really related to something you're really passionate about, you might have already studied in the past, you're up your chances. And if you, I think for me personally, a PhD has been fantastic so far. But definitely it's definitely really different than a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, because
there are a lot of things that comes in, and also you heard from Bram like how to get into a space planetary sciences. Like if you are coming from a different background, like some any other discipline in the science sector. So and if you have more questions, you can definitely comment down in the comment box, and we will be more than happy to share them to Bram, and Bram will answer your questions. And also remember that you will also get a shout out on our social media channel when you're asking him the question. And with that, I think it's time for us to wrap up this particular episode of Space Smurfs. And please do utilize our interactive opportunity to ask Bram the questions regarding planetary science, how he ended up in the space sector, or anything you would like to know more about his career path. So with that, and also Bram, it was such a pleasure to have you on board for episode 3 of Space Smurfs. And we wish all the success for your future endeavors and also for your PhD program as well. And with that mentioned, Space Smurfs Season 3, Episode 3 is coming to an end, and I will see you on the next 4th Friday of May. With that, see you. Bye-bye. Take care.